Welcome, folks, to the March update for the GNU Radio project. We have a couple fun announcements, a couple fun topics to cover, and some big ideas about the future of the GNU Radio 3.7 series of releases and the upcoming 4.0. So with that, I will pull up our agenda and get launched in. So I'm Derek, one of the GNU Radio leads, and I will be kicking off by saying that we've been accepted to the Google Summer of Code. So this is an annual project run by Google where they finance and support and facilitate new open source contributors getting paired up with existing projects and spending the summer doing paid development, learning how to contribute to open source projects, hopefully learning a bit of new topical information, and everyone gets a chance to learn a bit. So GNU Radio has been involved for several years now, and we have a list of ideas posted up online. So one of the big changes with this year's Google Summer of Code is that you don't have to be a student, actually. Anyone who has, I think the focus is early career. If you have not contributed to open source in the past, you may well be eligible. So don't hold back if you've looked at it in past years and said, well, I'm not a student at the moment. Take a look at their eligibility and see if you match. We have a list of ideas up here, but you are welcome to propose your own ideas as well. A couple of the ones here are also worth just generally highlighting. We frequently get requests that the graphical widgets included, the graphical displays included with GNU Radio, be more featureful. Just in the past couple days, a topic came up about whether or not the time domain display could display data at speeds higher than 60 frames per second. And that's just scratching the surface. So if you have an interest in graphical user interface design or high performance visualization, signal processing for displaying key metrics of interest, then this might be the project for you. We do have a mentor for each of these projects that's listed on the website, but if you come up with your own idea, definitely let us know on the mailing list or the GNU Radio chat at chat.gnuradio.org, and we can definitely try and pair you up with somebody who already has an area of expertise and will be able to support you through the period of work. Another change for this year's Google Summer of Code is that there are now short projects and long projects. So we have a proposed project length. So I believe 350 is the longer project duration. We'll see if any of these are shorter, although I think people have dreamt big on these lists. So GPU accelerating the signal processing blocks. If this is of interest, if you are interested in high performance computing or in the nuts and bolts of memory management and data movement, then this could be the one for you. There are already a few examples of accelerated blocks within GNU Radio, several different libraries that provide demonstrations, but with the new features that are available in GNU Radio 3.10, where you can define custom memory management and buffers and data transport, there's an opportunity to make those go much faster and be much more natively supported. So Josh Mormon, who's here on the call, I believe would be the mentor for this one, and you can read more about this on the list. Standalone GRC. GNU Radio Companion is definitely the tool which most people are familiar with when it comes to GNU Radio. If you've seen anything, you've probably seen GNU Radio Companion. However, GNU Radio Companion is currently implemented using the GTK library, and there's some limitations there. It's a little bit more difficult to package and run cross-platform. There's some native integrations that don't work so well, and generally, it's a fairly old code base. that has served us extremely well, but there's interest in whether there are other formats, other toolkits that could make GNU Radio Companion successful. So if you check out on the main repository, there's actually a Qt-based GNU Radio Companion already as a work in progress. And if you've seen online, the next project here is about WebAssembly, and there's already a working demonstration of this Qt-based GNU Radio Companion running in a browser. So before we jump to that, the idea is to take the current GRC GNU Radio Companion code base and just package it up so that it is more self-contained, and so it would be more easy to plug in some of these other possible graphical toolkits and implementations. So a lot of good project and code literacy going through that one, how to take a code base that is currently being maintained and modularize it, refactor it. A great exercise in working with code. And one of the big benefits, it's all written in Python. So if you are somebody who doesn't have a background in C++, this is a great one to jump in on. And I think the final one listed here is the WebAssembly port. I will try and come back at the end of this call with the video, which was recently posted by Mark Newlin on Twitter, showing GRC running a flow graph entirely within a browser. It's a fantastically cool project, and it would be very valuable and useful to take this and push the idea forwards. There's a lot of improvements needed to the Qt-based GNU Radio Companion, and a bunch of development on making sure that this can be run reliably and becomes a native, a more well-supported build option for GNU Radio, a more native target in the same way that we currently do testing against Mac OS, Linux, various different operating systems. We'd love to be able to test against this as well. So like we said, if you have other ideas, please do propose them. If you are somebody who is already in the community and has an idea, definitely feel free to add them to the list. Please do throw something into chat or the mailing list as well, so we know where it's coming from and can get you involved with the Google Summer of Code. So we are always looking for mentors and project ideas, so feel free to feed them into there. That, I think, wraps up that. I've talked for quite a bit, and we'll head over to Mark to Josh with the interesting news about GNU Radio stability. Sure.
Items. First off, the SigMF team is starting a new effort to create a central repository for storing a bunch of example SigMF recordings, to promote SigMF and just have examples if people want to look at example meta files or just see how it's used. Although we want it to serve multiple purposes, because it could also be used as a way to have test recordings for like out of tree module, flow graph testing or other purposes, or just having interesting recordings as a way to bring people towards SigMF. Like someone might get linked to the repo, not because of SigMF specifically, but then while they're there, they realize the value of the standard. Now, what it's not is like a RFML style data set. But anyway, if you're interested in helping, we're currently just identifying like existing recordings that we could start with, possibly converting them to SigMF by making the meta file. And if you're interested in helping, you can just join the Matrix chat channel, the SigMF channel, or on the GNU Radio Wiki, there's this new page called SigMF Recordings Repo that we're using to compile notes and existing recordings. And then the second item I had was to announce that there's a new tutorial on the wiki that goes over how to create out of tree modules. It's sort of an overhaul of the previous one, but we have two this time. One is kind of Python focused and one C++ block focused. So thanks to Matt for creating those. And the beginner tutorials he had created in the past are now improved with more focus on using kind of simple English to, for folks who have English as a second language, for example, to improve kind of the usability of those tutorials. Anyway, so that's all I had. Pass it over to Josh.
Great.
Cool, thanks, Mark.
Josh, I will pull you up because you've got.
Yeah, let me share my screen real quick.
Wonderful. All right.
Does that work for you?
It does indeed, and
all right,
there you are.
Cool. So, want to address how we got from 3.7 to 3.8 to 3.9 to 3.10, and also how we want to move forward to 4.0. So there was, we heard over the last several years, understandably, grumblings about these major changes that broke people's out-of-tree modules, right? That's frustrating. But, these were very important decisions that we made to be able to modernize the code base and to bring in dependencies that were really not maintainable anymore, like Swig or log for CPP, which just went out in 3.10. So 3.10, we saw that it was a much smaller step in terms of wrecking everybody's stuff. And we'd like to continue that pattern, right? So we expect going forward from 3.10 until we get to 4.0, which we haven't set a date as to when that's realistic. But we want the steps from 3.10 to 3.11, if that happens, to be much less breaking. And the good thing about us moving into this more stable mode of operation is that this is a real nod to the community here about the efforts to make GNU Radio what it is. It's mature and it's reliable, and it's something that we can build upon. So, even if we do end up ticking up the API revision, now all these aren't examples of ticking up the API revision, it shouldn't mean that it breaks your apps. So, for instance, we might have to tick up the API revision, go to 3.11 if we create a new module, make major changes to GRC, or if we have to change a dependency. So things like that. But we're still hoping we can continue this pattern of not breaking your stuff. So with that said, we want to look at opportunities to make more aggressive changes in GR 4.0. So GR 4.0 doesn't exist right now in the main GNU Radio repo. So for the past couple of years, we've had this new Schedule repo, which has kind of been a proving ground for ideas for what could become GR 4.0. But it's time now, I think, as we're trying to make GR 3.x more stable, keep it stable, it's time to start thinking about making GR 4.0, an aggressive development path in the main GNU Radio repo. So probably in the next couple of months, maybe sooner, we might see a dev 4.0 branch pop up in the main repo. And that will be where, if we want to start establishing major changes to the coding guidelines, or you'll see, we'll go into a little bit what's currently proposed for 4.0. They're big changes, right? 4.0 will be like an entirely new framework. It'll be very GNU Radio-like, but it will be something that, out-of-tree modules will have to adapt to very differently than going from, say, 3.9 to 3.10. So it's going to be, that's why we're ticking up the major. So let's talk about the branches that we might see. So the main branch right now is going to be work towards a possible 3.11 release. So there's nothing really that we've merged on there yet that will break API that hasn't been backported to 3.10, as far as I know. So we'll keep working in our current pattern where we put all the changes on main, and then Jeff, with his awesome maintenance abilities and his active backporting, ports these back to 3.10 and 3.8. So 3.9 he's still porting things down to 3.9, and I think there's going to be some maintenance releases coming up very soon of 3.8, 3.9, and 3.10. But going forward, 3.9 is close enough to 3.10 that we probably only need to support 3.10. So on this main branch, we'll support API changes, but really if those can't be backported and there's not enough accumulated on the main branch to justify a 3.11 release, they'll probably stay on master for longer and not be officially released. So the main branches, there's no changes. Main branches, we can't change API, we can't change dependencies, and it's only backports coming in which we, have enough airtime on to say that they're safe to not break the maintenance branches. And then eventually, so if we work for some period of time and get 4.0 stable, eventually this dev 4.0 will become the main branch down the road. But for a while, this will be rapidly changing in structure and API. So even probably through something like 4.1, 4.2, we would expect major changes because we have the opportunity to make these major changes. So then how do we get to 4.0? So these are, just kind of off the top of my head, we have to finish up the major things in NewSchedule enough to where, it's functional and it has the main features to where, it's comfortable enough to move into the main GNU Radio repo. So please join us in the discussions here. We hang out in this scheduler room, which is where all the 4.0 future talk happens. And then periodically we have group meetups, and those are announced in that scheduler room. So definitely need broader community involvement to be able to finish up NewSchedule and start porting it into GNU Radio. Big changes to the coding standard. Now, I know that there's people in the community that have a lot of good advice, a lot of great ideas about, how our code should be structured, how the C++ stuff, especially modernizing the C++. So, we see PRs pop up here and there that, that blast through the C++ and have these major refactoring changes. So I'm hoping that 4.0 is a great opportunity to get those major refactoring changes in place and establish the standard of how we want to do that. So probably need to have a place to document all of these. That'll be communicated soon. And then, probably we'll just create the branch soon and go from there. Let's see. Now, those are all the slides that I had. Now, as far as what is 4.0, created a page this week, which is just a summary of the features. So these are kind of the main things that, I'll paste this in the chat here. Oh, I'm not logged in. I will not paste that in the chat. So the main features of GNU Radio 4.0, which we've gone over in GRCon talks and FOSDEM talks, but it really comes down to modular components, support of heterogeneous architectures, and support for distributed architectures. Those are the main three. But since it's a major re-architecting of GNU Radio, gives us a lot of opportunity to really change the way things are done and able to make things easier for the developer and for the user. So I'll paste this in the chat. I'm not going to go through all of this right now, but this is just kind of a summary of all the high level things that are being proposed. And again, join the scheduler room to talk in more detail about whether these are good ideas, bad ideas, and we can go from there as we mainline GR 4.0. So I'm excited. I'm very excited about this. And I'd like to see, start seeing the community getting more involved in GR 4.0 and having that as a major target, I think will be an important step. So, there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the current GNU Radio 3.x. So even though, our goal is to make it more stable, there's lots of places to get involved in the project that go along with that stability. One example that Derek brought up earlier is this move of GRC from GTK over to Qt. That's going to be a big improvement that Hakan and Seth have really taken on. and that would be a great place to get involved if you are interested in getting more involved in the code. Other things in terms of making the code more stable, improving our QA tests. That's one. They are flaky. Some of the tests are flaky. Things like that. So I'm not going to go through all of them, but I don't want to give the message that development on 3.x stops, because it definitely doesn't. We have a lot of active PRs and a lot of people submitting PRs, and that all makes sense. It's just the thing, if we want to be making really aggressive changes to the code base, a lot of refactoring, things like that, that really needs to start taking place on 4.0, which is why we're accelerating the timeline to migrate that in. So just wanted to make that one more point there.
Definitely. Thanks, Josh. GNU Radio 4.0 is a huge effort, and it's really exciting already to see the pieces that can be run and the ideas people are coming up with. If people have seen Bastian's future SDR and some of the other prototypes, some of the PMT work, everyone loves messages in GNU Radio, right? CDRs and CARs. So this is an opportunity to improve a lot of the nitpicks that we've had for a long time, as well as add in some features that just simply wouldn't have been imagined as possible 20 years ago when GNU Radio started. So, where to hear and see live demonstrations of what will become GNU Radio 4.0? Well, that would be GNU Radio Conference this September in Washington, D.C. We announced it last month on the project call, but there is now a bit more information up and available online. We are not yet opening registration, but that is probably just around the corner at this point. Let's hope. Yes, wonderful. And so do keep an eye out for that, and we'll make sure to announce it in all of our usual locations. And if you've been to GRCon before, please do expect an email when we have everything up and ready to go. However, in advance of that, you can certainly start preparing to participate. We are looking for speakers. We are looking for keynote talks, workshops, tutorials, fun event ideas. You name it, we want to hear about it. And so the organizing committee is working really, really hard and has started reaching the point where all of the fundamental structure of the event is in place. And so now it comes the really fun and nerve-wracking couple of months, putting together the entire technical lineup, making sure that we have everything ready to go in time for the event. And so as part of that, we are always looking for volunteers. The entire GNU Radio project runs on volunteer time and volunteer effort and love. And so if you have any thoughts about how the event could be just that bit better, or attract a different audience, meet a need that the event has not in the past, please do get in touch. You can email us, grcon@gnuradio.org, or drop into the chat or the mailing list, of course. Find us anywhere, and it would be wonderful to hear from you. So we need your help. And then at the event, there is always the few setup items and helping shepherd new attendees through the regular events that you may be already familiar with. Or if you're a first-time attendee, one of the best ways of getting just absolutely head deep into the event is to help out with some of the small tasks. That was how I got involved with the project last time we were in DC. So it's a great place to start. So send us an email with ideas, or if you're interested in helping out. The other piece, which did not make it in here, is that, of course, the event being held in DC is going to attract a really interesting audience. And as ever, This is an event run by the community, for the community, and a big part of that community is all of the organizations and companies which make use of GNU Radio. So if you are a member of an organization which uses GNU Radio and think that it would be valuable and useful to you and your organization to be present in an official capacity during the event, we very much want to have you. This is an event that needs to serve the needs of everyone. And so you bringing in your expertise, knowledge, and backgrounds and showing it off is a huge and recurring part of the event. The sponsorship information has always been a little bit hard to find in previous years, and as a big improvement on that, you can find it now on the main conference website. So if you go to events.gnuradio.org and click through conferences, GRCon 22, or just go straight to events.gnuradio.org/e/GRCon 22, you will find our homepage and our conference logo that I will unveil here in just a moment. But you can find all of our sponsorship opportunities, what the benefits are, and these are, and the text does say it on the page, these are the standard packages, the standard options for getting involved that we find meet the most common interests and needs. If you have something that you'd like to do that does not fit inside of the box, we love it. Please do think outside of the box, whether that is giving every attendee a badge that's actually a directional wideband antenna. Thank you very much to SkySafe for arranging that when we were in San Diego. I hope it was San Diego. It might have been Henderson in Nevada the following year. But that was a fantastic out-of-the-box idea from their part. If you would like to run a special event during the week, or some other, or a contest similar to the radio resilience competition that was run last year, or the wireless security challenges, the capture the flag events that run most years, those fit in here as well. Come up with something surprising and get in touch. Again, grcon@gnuradio.org is the email address, and you can find more information on this page, so do scroll around. And for those of you who may not be in a company, here is our logo. So I do look forward to SWAG having this on. A huge thanks to the folks at the SETI Institute, who are our partner in this project and in this event. Their staff have been helping us out, and this logo is one of the first things that really shows up on the front page. So we're absolutely thrilled to be working with people who are so talented and capable, and great to work with. So look forward to this, and of course more information will be showing up on this page over the next coming weeks and months, and look forward to both the official call for participation coming out quite soon. You can check out previous year's ones, and we don't expect it to deviate very much. So if you have papers, talks, workshops, etc., start sketching them out, start writing them down, and we will open up acceptance just as soon as possible. I think that covers the GNU Radio conference quite well. From there, I believe that the next thing I wanted to point out was actually that, as I've been repeating, this project runs on volunteer effort and people bringing their own unique skills, or uncommon or very necessary skills to the project. And we'd like to feature some of that work each month. We've been on and off showing off out-of-tree modules. But this month, I'd like to pull up a GitHub issue and how one community member has been proposing some changes to how we develop GNU Radio Companion and how we develop GNU Radio to improve usability. If you have been on the project call before or have attended one of the Twitch live streams, you may already know of Bernard. But this issue was opened just a month ago. I'm the author, but this wasn't my idea. This was something that came up in chat. And it is that GNU Radio Companion does not always gracefully handle the case when you open a new flow graph in an older version of GNU Radio Companion. Or vice versa. If you're opening an old flow graph, it does do its best to update things, but sometimes blocks have been deprecated, APIs have changed, something happens that breaks the flow graph or may make it behave differently. There is just enough information in the GRC files to be able to display a helpful message, to know that there is some issue with opening this file. Currently, we don't say anything. So this is an area that can certainly be improved. And with my background, pulling this up, I could just about point out that this was something that we really should do, but how we should do it wasn't so clear. So we've had the user experience development group and the ability to run surveys and interview people for a while now, and this has been something that Bernard has been putting together and facilitating. You can read through the exact comments here, but there's some storyboarding going on. There's some work trying to put together plausible audiences and who could be hitting this in different scenarios and what would we most like to address. So what are some of the expectations? What can we give in terms of good advice? How would this be displayed? Can we automatically do some things or build in capabilities to GRC that allow optional updates or build in a library of blocks that have been deprecated and how to adapt them to new pieces? We currently have a lot of this information on the wiki, so at very bare minimum we could link out to the wiki. Some of that's captured here, but the coming up with things just on the GitHub page only gets you so far. And so what was proposed was actually running a survey, and we will drop a link into the chat and into the video description because we would love more feedback on this. And so this is a super quick survey that walks through this specific one issue. This may seem like a lot of work, but we're hoping that this will bring in more ideas than just a GitHub issues discussion. Come on, who's actually sitting on the GitHub issues and reading every single one of them and responding with ideas? We may surface it up in the development chat, which will get some responses, but there's a lot of people who don't normally get to have their voices heard in these sorts of issues in development. So this sort of survey helps us get out to a much wider audience, capture more of the problem statement, and come up with an answer that better fits more users. So if you can, please do take this survey, walk through it, and also think as well to where else in GNU Radio or what other feature or issue have you encountered or do you know of that could benefit from kind of a wider scale discussion like this. It would be great to build in more of this process as we tackle the kind of quality of life improvements within GNU Radio that fit in the the 3.0 or 3.x series of releases, and then looking forward to big changes in GNU Radio 4.0. So unfortunately, I don't have a link to the analysis of the data that links in here, but we will try and feature that at least on the GitHub issue and maybe in a future live stream or call. But just kind of as an example of kind of how in-depth this can get, there's quite a bit of a discussion already going on and storyboarding here. A lot of this will end up in the GitHub issue, but this gives kind of an interactive option to do a lot of exploration on this. So do consider whether there's other pieces of the development process of GNU Radio or features and explorations that could benefit from kind of a larger stretch. Hopefully that's been interesting. Like I said, I'll drop the link to this survey into the Twitch chat just now. And with that, I'll wrap up this call. That covers what's been happening in the GNU Radio project in March. There's certainly lots that's going to be happening going forward into April and the rest of the year. If you have things that you would like to see happen, I will point out again that this is a volunteer-run project, and so your ideas are the project's ideas. Come up with them, and we'll make this project as good as we can. So we are always looking for people. Yes, I remember what the final thing was supposed to be. So we do have our main website, GNUradio.org, and there is a Getting Involved page. So do check out this page, which is in the top corner. This has been recently updated, and I'd like to both point this out as a place to look at if you want to start contributing and getting in touch with people, but also to point out that perhaps our website is not as good as it could be, or perhaps this guide is not as good as it could be. We are looking for anyone with web development experience to help improve the website, get a few of the small things done. Check out the GitHub repository for the website if you wanted a list of those, or just come chat and we'll point them out. But also things like setting up a donations page. GNU Radio does accept donations, and this may come as a surprise to a number of folks because it hasn't been very well surfaced before. But you can go on to Get Involved and then click Donate. But we'd like to make this option clearer to everyone who's browsing, with no pressure, no expectations, but just the hope that people who are getting value out of the project may consider supporting it financially, and that helps us pay for the chat server infrastructure, the continuous integration, the expensive conference, and so many other little pieces that would be possible were we to have a more reliable stream of funding. The tutorials development, for instance, the actual final cost on that is relatively low in the terms of anything commercial. However, it is quite a significant cost for the project. And so even a few $1,000s over the course of a year can enable us to make really good progress and developments happen. So if you have ideas of how to make GNU Radio better as a project or software, get in touch, get involved. Thank you very much. And that'll be it for this month. We look forward to sharing more progress next month. Join us in chat at chat.gnuradio.org. Have a great month, and we'll catch you later. Bye.